would all, we would manage and survive the attack of this virus. But there's a whole entire other population of people that are very much susceptible. Our parents, our grandparents, certainly, Rami Cohen, who's a well-known rabbi in Staten Island, is the guy's a champion of the Jewish community, certainly the Russian Jewish community. The guy performed over 10,000 circumcisions. He was a big, staunch fighter for Soviet Jews and just Jews in general. Someone who did a lot, and the guy was going, jet skiing last summer. He was 92 years old. The guy seemed unstoppable, but this little virus somehow took his life, unfortunately. So I think that the reason why most people would say that some people would say right away, yeah, if a cure for cancer or a cure for, anything, kill one person, you'll save thousands of people, millions of people, right? And Alana says, 1 versus a million is what pharma technically goes through dealing with clinical trials of various stages. This is true, because the value of each person's life is ginormous, and we are not put into a position where we can go ahead and determine what is valuable and what is not valuable. So let's talk practically for a second. By murdering one person, you save millions of lives, but most importantly, you save your own life. By sparing that person, right, you only save one person, right? The 90-year-old person who's lived at the prime of his or her life, why do we still show value to these older people? Taking one life in this instance saves millions of lives. And if we value life, surely saving life is the right decision.
Amen.
Thank you. Yet I think most of us intuitively know that this can't be right, meaning killing one to save millions or yourself. We should not be willing to murder an innocent 90-year-old, even if it would both guarantee a cure for cancer or to save our own life. But my question is, can you explain why? There is a great book called Holocaust and Halacha, and it was a bunch of halachic, Jewish legalese questions that were asked to the rabbis in the Holocaust itself. And the following question was asked to one of the rabbis. Let's see how you guys would deal with it. It says, the Nazis have imprisoned 100 children who they plan to murder. And a man comes to the rabbi and says, my son is one of the 100 kids that they're going to murder. I can bribe the guard to free my son, but if I do, the Nazis are going to grab someone else's son to replace mine. So he asked the rabbi, he said, can I bribe the guard to free my son? So the rabbi refused to answer the question. He wouldn't, so the father, I guess, realized from the rabbi's answer that he's not going to do it. It was forbidden for him to free his son, and truth is the son actually died. The Talmud speaks about these similar questions. And he asks, how do you know that your blood is redder than my blood? Maybe his blood is redder, maybe my blood is more valuable than yours. And Rashi, the beautiful 11th century, 10th century medieval commentator, says that who knows whose blood is more precious than mine, or more dear to God. Maybe this person's blood is redder than mine. Maybe this person has more value. And the truth is that the ultimate conclusion is that we can never determine who's more valuable at the core. Each individual life is considered to be an entire world. Now, this makes sense when we're dealing with life versus another life. But how can we explain saving one life at the expense of millions? Can't we say with confidence that in God's eyes, millions of lives are more precious than one individual life? So there's a story that is told of a rabbi and a thief, and they both die, and they're both standing in heaven. And the thief singled out for his, tremendous accomplishments, receives the royal treatment, while the rabbi is viewed as a average Joe. So how can the thief be considered among the greatest, greater than the rabbi, who when the rabbi devoted his whole entire life to community service, doing good deeds and kindness and honesty, he was decent? How's that possible? And the answer is that every individual is born with unique personality and set of circumstances, as well as a certain amount of potential for growth. Where we begin is beyond our control. I can't choose my parents. I can't choose the circumstances that I find myself in. I can't choose the socioeconomics. I can't choose the intelligence. I just deal with what I have. We are responsible for where we end up and the choices we make along the way. Maybe the rabbi was blessed with every single advantage, born into loving parents who gave him, everything, good teachers, schooling, a wholesome upbringing. The guy was born with tremendous intelligence. He was super smart, had a great memory. His father was a rabbi, and he naturally chose the same. It was easy for him to do it. Excuse me. His true worth is not where he began in life. His inborn strength and weaknesses are not intrinsic to his true nature. It is all part and parcel of his desire to continue doing that which is familiar to him. But maybe he had the potential of becoming one of the greatest people of his generation, even more than what he was. And he squandered that potential. He became an average, above average rabbi, but not the greatest. And therefore, the quality of his life's struggles can only be measured by taking every factor and detail of his existence into account. So on the surface, the rabbi appears to be greater than the thief, but perhaps even greater than many other good people. But when we consider the larger framework from where we're standing, from his starting point in life, the potential greatness could have been reached, and a completely different picture emerges. So maybe the rabbi was coasting through life, choosing mediocrity. With more perseverance, he could have attained so much more. Yeah, we can't kill. That's pretty much it. We lose our humanity in doing so. It's true. Even only one life. That's all true. Now, I think it's easier to understand why the thief is greater. Let's say the thief was born with tremendous disadvantages, a violent temperament, abusive parents who lacked any funds to give him any kind of education. He himself possesses low intelligence, no memory. None of that determines his true worth. One's value consists of the hard choices we make within our unique playing field. The thief doesn't decide to be the thief decides to build a better life, and he struggles to conquer his inner demons. He gets a job to work his way through college, and then things get rough. He turns to stealing to make ends meet. But he consistently strives to be an upstanding member of society, to raise a healthy family, to make meaningful contributions to the world. When we compare the degrees of growth of the thief and the rabbi, it becomes super clear that the thief is the greater individual. And that's why, of course, all this is oversimplification. There's tremendous amount of complexities over here. No one could judge anyone. And I think that, the big takeaway for me has been, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, is that people are just so complicated. We're never in a position to go ahead and determine anyone's value. The only thing we can do is work with the things that we have. The ends never justify the means. Stealing is always going to be immoral, and there's no question there are going to be certain consequences for the thief's stealing. But we're judging the thief's actions and not his worth. And I think that's the important part of here. We can't know how God views the worthiness of a thief. Certainly you and I can't know it. And therefore, when it's millions of lives versus one 90-year-old individual, even though they lived out their whole entire life, maybe the one life is more precious and dear. So how could we know? And therefore, we have issues with numbers. The judgment is not ours to make, no matter how many lives are involved. We can never go ahead and take the life of somebody else. And this is clear from all the sources. Maimonides speaks about this in his Yesodei Torah. He says that, killing a life is like killing, one life is like killing a whole entire world. And this is the principle that the pharmacists and doctors are using right now, which is so frustrating considering that what's happening right now in Italy. I'm not sure if you're following the news, but they're basically at a point, because their medical systems are so overwhelmed, they have no choice but to let older people die. They're just the triage. They can't serve everybody, And if we're going to pick and choose who to serve, that's different than killing someone for the sake of something else. This is just allowing nature to take its course. Anyway, my hope is that at the end of all of this, we all walk away with more clarity for ourselves, that we find time to develop ourselves, develop our awareness. It's been really heartwarming. I've received so many phone calls from so many people just checking in. How are you doing? How have you been? Just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of you. Like people who've been wanting to stay in touch but haven't had the ability to stay in touch because life is just funny like that. It kind of gets in the way. And as we're quarantining ourselves and continuing to manage our lives, again, don't forget to be a task force for good and figure out a way of getting back to the communities that you're in and from. I'll take questions and comments and concerns right now if you guys want. My pleasure. I apologize. God willing, next Wednesday we'll start on time. All right, everybody, have an amazing day. I will be going live again tonight at 9 o'clock. This is all part of my my series on character development. Tonight, we're going to work on the trait of humility, 9 p.m. Same bad channel, same bad time. Hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. We'll be in touch later, alligators.
Thank you, Rabbi.
My pleasure, Justin. Let me stop recording.